So when we talk about narcissism, I tend to talk to people about really two categories of narcissism. There are lots more than that, but really to help people understand, I like to keep it really, really simple, because otherwise everyone feels like they want to get a PhD in narcissistic abuse. I know that's certainly what I feel like I have, but I'm probably way down the track of where you are right now, and I'm able to read about it. It's not triggering, and in fact, I'm one of those geeky people that loves to learn even more about that, but it doesn't trigger me. And this is why it's really, really important for you in your journey of healing after the trauma of narcissistic abuse, that you seek out people that you can relate to, that you can understand, that have been where you are, so that you can just literally focus on that person. And of course, I would love to be that person for you, because I've been where you are. I like to think I'm educated enough to help you on all of this, on not just a real empathic personal level, but on a deeply neuroscience-based level, really understanding the trauma, really understanding what is happening in our body as well. So today I want to talk to you about really the two main types of narcissism, but really focus on one of those. Now, narcissism, like I say, can be categorized predominantly into two things. We have overt narcissists and covert narcissists. Now, the overt narcissist is probably the one most people would associate with being a narcissist. You know, that person who might walk into the room, would have that sense of grandiosity, almost commanding that attention, almost looking like, oh gosh, don't they love themselves? And sadly, in some respects, that's where it's quite damaging, because that's where people think what a narcissist is. So when people then maybe break up from somebody, they're like, oh, my ex is a narcissist. Where actually, yeah, they just love themselves, but that doesn't mean actually that they are suffering with narcissistic personality disorder, because that actually really, really absolutely strips you to your core with all of that. So the other one I want to talk to you about is a covert narcissist. To me, this is the most dangerous type of narcissist. This was the narcissist that my ex was. And I want to talk to you about why a covert narcissist is so dangerous, and maybe see if you can relate to this as well. So when we diagnose narcissistic personality disorder, that you have to have 5 of 9 traits that are listed in the DSM. So the DSM is the Diagnostical and Statistical Manual, and it's what the American Psychological Association will use to diagnose personality disorders, mental health disorders. And to be diagnosed with NPD, you have to have 5, like I say, of these 9 traits. But when we're dealing with a covert narcissist, it goes a little bit deeper than all of that as well. And a covert narcissist presents not really like a typical narcissist. So not the narcissist that most people would think. So a covert narcissist is somebody who would really act like the victim. They can often be somebody who uses maybe illness as a method of getting sympathy from other people. They are very passive aggressive. So they might be saying it in a very nice way, but there is a real underlying of passive aggression. So, you know, just as an example, you might be with a narcissist right now and wondering, you know, are they a covert? Are they an overt? And just think about the sort of things that they say to you. Are they saying some things to you in a very, very nice way? But actually, when they say it to you, what you're hearing is not the tone. What you're hearing is those words, and it is like a dagger to your heart. And you're really feeling that dysregulation in your body. That's passive aggressiveness. And you may have encountered that in other aspects of your life as well. Someone saying something to you very, very nicely, but the words and the underlying meaning of that is very, very aggressive. A covert narcissist can also come across as somebody who's very self-critical. Now, they might say something to you like, oh, it never really works for me like this. You know, oh, I can't do that. Now, of course, that can also not be covert narcissism. So when I'm talking about these, think about them in their entirety. Think about, you know, if somebody is having, you know, maybe 4 or 5 of these all together, you know, that is in every aspect of their life, in their home life, their personal life, their work life. You know, this really transcends through all of their life. It's not necessarily just with you, although behind closed doors, obviously, they can be very, very different. So they will often be really, really self-critical, and they will do that to gain attention. So I certainly know I had a friend, well, no longer a friend, a while ago, who was always talking about, oh, I can't do this, or no one will like me, no one will this, this is too hard for me to do. Because of course, me as her friend, as the codependent at the time, would be like, oh, of course you can do this, you are amazing. But what I was doing was I was feeding that narcissistic supply by saying all of that. So that's a real trait of a covert narcissist, being really self-critical. And you wouldn't imagine that to be a narcissist, because again, we would tend to think of a narcissist as somebody who loves themselves. But a covert narcissist is really, really self-critical. A covert narcissist can also be really, really shy. So again, the complete opposite of that grandiosity as maybe they enter into the room. A covert narcissist can come across as actually being very introverted, being really, really shy, because then they're going to get that supply off other people. So a covert narcissist will also have lots of fantasies. They're living in this fantasy world all of the time. And they might talk to you about all of this. And again, they can do it in a really self-deprecating way, where they will start to, again, be that self-critical person to themselves, but feeling very, very shy and really, really sensitive to other people's criticism. Again, going back to this friend that I used to have, anybody that looked like was maybe criticizing her at any level, oh my goodness, the overreaction that was there, because again, it was really tapping into her insecurities. And what we know about narcissists is they have such a strong false sense of self, they would never admit that maybe there's a core wound, because, narcissists aren't born narcissists. They come about from their childhood, and that can be from childhood abuse, neglect, sibling rivalry, so parents pitting them against each other. It can come from very unemotional childhoods as well. I know that was certainly the case from my ex-husband, but very unemotional parents, no birthday parties particularly or anything else like that. And so we know that a narcissist isn't born like that. They are brought about because of their childhood, and it is trauma. It is childhood trauma. They do have a deep wound. However, the problem with a narcissist is they will never recognize they have a wound, which makes the problem of getting a diagnosis, because how many people do you know that would say, hey, I think I've got narcissistic personality disorder, I think I'll go and try and get a diagnosis of that. I mean, that just isn't going to happen, is it? They're not going to go and try and get a diagnosis because they don't think there's anything wrong with them. So even though they might come across as a covert narcissist being really critical of themselves, knowing that something isn't right, they're not doing it because they want a diagnosis. They're doing it because they want supply, narcissistic supply, drug of choice of a narcissist. They want that supply of you or indeed somebody else, so that false sense of self that they have, those very strong protector parts that are stood in front of their deep wound, that becomes who they are. And that protector self, that false sense of self, is never ever moving, because the pain of the wound for a narcissist is so deep. So they will be always trying to think about ways of behavior so that they can get their supply. Now, one thing I will add here, and again, there's no research out there, is why does a narcissist become an overt or a covert? We don't know that. There's no tangible evidence or research yet, not to say that there won't be in the future, as to why then a child in that situation who goes on to become a narcissist, why do they become a narcissist or a covert narcissist or an overt? And we don't know that. So, but the covert for me is always the most dangerous. You will often find a covert narcissist may have other mental health issues as well. So they might present like maybe they've got depression. They might present possibly that there could be borderline personality disorder as well. That can often get misdiagnosed from MPD as well. But again, borderline, people will recognize that and they will, get a diagnosis, and there will be things that they will do to move themselves forward. A narcissist won't do that, and I'm always looking in the work that I do in the therapy and coaching world that I will not treat what I believe to be a narcissist. Of course, in an ideal world, I would love to cure narcissistic personality disorder, because I know on some level they are very wounded souls, and I would love to be able to help them. But to help somebody, they have to recognize that there's a problem and work on that. And by nature of narcissistic personality disorder, they don't, and they won't. They may at some stage say, they might go to, say, marriage counselling, or maybe they'll say to their partner, I will go and get therapy, but they're not doing it because they want to cure themselves. They're doing it because they think that's what the other person needs them to do for them to carry on getting the supply. So they're not doing it for the right reasons, because they don't actually believe that there's anything wrong with them. They think it's everybody else, because that real false sense of self is standing so strong, it's projecting that out onto other people. So the covert narcissist will also hold lots of grudges. So do you have somebody in your life that maybe you're recognizing all of this and you think, oh yeah, I think they might be a covert narcissist, and they will hold on to a grudge till the ends of the earth. They won't let it go, because it's like you found them out, or you've done something to them, and my goodness, will you pay for that? They won't forget. They will hold on to that grudge. You know, maybe you're in a relationship now, and you know, the narcissist is bringing stuff up that has happened a long, long time ago. And they are, make no mistakes, they don't forget. They will bring it up. They will not move forward with that. The covert narcissist will also be really, really envious of others. So when they see other people succeeding, when they see other people doing things, they will be really envious and jealous of this. And that will come out with maybe them trying to tear or rip that other person down. I see this a lot obviously being a therapist and coach, I use a lot of social media, and I see a lot of other coaches and therapists online. And sadly, what I see sometimes is, as other people are becoming more successful, people don't like that. They want to rip them down. Now, yes, that could just be because they're feeling insecure. But when we start to add in all of those other traits, then what we know is when we add all of those in, then there could be an element of covert narcissism in all of this too. A covert narcissist will really feel inadequate. Now, that may not come across directly, but those feelings of inadequacy that they have means they will massively project that onto other people, and they will do that in a way of self-criticizing themselves, maybe being ill or poorly, so that again, it's all about a covert narcissist. Almost they act like a victim, you know, poor me, because they want to get that adoration, they want to get that supply, they want to be told, oh no, you are great, you are amazing, and it's like, yes, give me more, give me more, give me more, and they will keep doing all of that. A covert narcissist also can be really great at showing false empathy. You know, one of the things that I talk about as one of the key ways of recognizing a narcissist is, and I've always said this, you imagine yourself on your living room floor and you're telling the narcissist in your life that you are really, really poorly. And that could be, you know, literally a life-threatening condition. And when you're on your own with the narcissist, they are almost looking at you like they're watching paint dry. You know, they might say, you know, I'm sorry to hear that. And the words are coming out, but you don't feel that empathy. You put yourself in a room with family or friends and you tell them that, you watch their behavior change. Their behavior is very different to you on your own than when there is an audience around them for them to perform. So that when there's an audience around them, of course, if they're like, oh, of course, I'll help and support you, I will do all of this. So everyone around goes, oh, aren't they wonderful? Aren't they lovely, supporting you? And that is the supply going to that narcissist. So a covert narcissist is really, really good at false empathy. So looking like they are really, really empathic to you or the other people, but actually it's all false. It's only so that they can gain narcissistic supply, their drug of choice. So think about the covert narcissist as being really acting like a victim. Now, the dangerous aspect of this, and this is why I believe a covert narcissist is the most dangerous, is because they act like the victim. When your relationship with a narcissist starts to break down, and you start to maybe say they're a narcissist, or you start to also feel like you are broken, alone, lost, but they're also acting like a victim in all of this, what makes it really hard then is those people that are around you, who do they believe? Because remember, They are masters of disguise. They are wolves in sheep's clothing. So they are really able to act like they're the victim in all of this and you're the bad person. And that can make you feel even worse. That was so hard for me, because what I found was when my relationship broke down and he was acting like the victim in all of this for a time, that I could see people that he was talking to maybe at the school gates thinking, why are you talking to him? You know, I wanted to go around them afterwards with this big megaphone and say, hold on, can I just tell you exactly what happened now and what he did to me and all of this? Because of course he was acting like the victim and he was getting people to feel sorry for him. That was feeding his narcissistic supply. And that for me made it really, really difficult, because you imagine if you're in a relationship with a narcissist anyway, you're going to have those feelings of lack of self-worth, and then thinking other people don't believe you because they're flying monkeys is really pushing you even further into that freeze trauma response. Because the danger is, well, not only do I not think I'm good enough, but now they're acting like I'm not good enough and all the people around are acting like I'm not good enough. So that makes you feel even worse. And that is why covert narcissism, I believe, is even more dangerous. And I think it's even harder. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're both extremely traumatic. But I think recovering from a covert narcissist, because they are very good with their persona of coming across as the victim, the poor me, and that makes it really, really challenging. You know, I've had certain female friends in my life, and I can think of two immediately that were covert narcissists, and to the outside world they look like nice women. They look like victim-like women in a way. They would cry so that they would get obviously that sense of approval, that sense of supply, but deep inside they were tearing you down. That God forbid you could be more successful than them, you know, God forbid that you could do anything else outside of your friendship with them, for instance, because that deviated your attention away from them. So covert narcissism doesn't just present obviously from a parent or a partner. It can be a friend, it can be a co-worker, and it can make it really challenging because they act like the victim. So one of the best ways to start is stop looking at them and really start to understand what a covert narcissist is. Other people believing the covert narcissist is no reflection of you. It just means what a great manipulator they are. And we want to stop seeking other people's approval, validation for us to feel better. We need to go within and we need to heal our own deep wounds of that lack of self-worth. Because again, when we heal that, you can zoom out from the situation. And of course, it can feel frustrating. You know, I felt frustrated at the time thinking, you know, they're not believing me, they're listening to him. But it's not my place to get everybody else to understand what I've been through. This is my life. And I want to ensure I live my life to the best of my ability, because I know I deserve to live an amazing life. So holding on to that poison as to maybe why other people are believing them and not you. Well, you believe them for a while, so why shouldn't anybody else? So turn that onto yourself. Every time you feel your energy going to them or other people, make yourself, bring it into an awareness, and then intentionally bring that energy back to yourself. Work on yourself on that deep level. Be intentional with your healing, because at the end of the day, you could keep on going and try and get them to change, try and get everybody in the world to understand what that you have been going through. But really, it's like you drinking rat poison and expecting the rat to die. It's not happening. This is about you. This is why I want you to know, I believe you. I believe you. I know what it's like. Find your tribe. Find people like me who get it, who understand. Really look at who you are surrounding yourself with, because a covert narcissist can be really, really difficult to recover from, because it looks like they are the victim. And then it almost becomes like a competition, you know, who can act like the most victim, you or them. You don't want to get caught up in all of that. It's toxic for you. This is your life. Doesn't matter what they do. Doesn't matter what they say. This is about you. This is about you living the life I know you deserve. And you can heal that trauma of narcissistic abuse. Absolutely. I'm living proof of all of that. I know you can do it as well. So let me know, do you have a covert narcissist in your life? And can you relate to anything that I've talked about in this episode?